Here are 10 questions on basic wine terminology from Brainscape. Ready? Let's go.
What is meant by the term grape varietal? Well, it's the type of grape used to make a wine. For example, Cabernet Sauvignon, Shiraz, and Merlot are black grape varietals, while Chardonnay, Riesling, and Viognier are white grape varietals. And yes, I said black grape varietals. That wasn't a boo-boo. Black grapes are used to make red wine. What is vinification? It's the process of making wine. Everything from the selection of the grapes and their fermentation into alcohol to the bottling of the finished liquid falls under the umbrella of vinification, aka winemaking. What is viticulture? Viticulture is the cultivation and harvesting of grapes. Everything that takes place in the vineyard, from soil management, pruning the vines and irrigation, to pest control and hand or machine harvesting, it falls under the umbrella of viticulture. What is meant by the wine term vintage? So vintage is the year the grapes were harvested. If the bottle says 2018 on the front or back label, it means the grapes that were used to make the wine were harvested in 2018. Wines, particularly red wines, are often released to market a year or more after they're made. Producers can hold them back so as to allow them to age further in the bottle. That's why new release wines can have vintages that go back several years. What does the term acidity mean? Acidity is the level of tartness in a wine, which provides freshness and balance. So wines with a high acidity taste crisp and citrusy, making your mouth water, like Sauvignon Blanc. Low acidity wines, on the other hand, can taste kind of flabby, lacking in structure with no backbone, bringing the wine's elements together. In other words, acidity is a core component in wine that establishes balance. What are the tannins in a wine? Well, tannins are natural compounds found in grape skins, seeds, and stems that create a drying and astringent sensation in the mouth. So you know those stringy bits in a banana and how if you accidentally eat one or bite into one, it instantly dries out your mouth? Well, that's because they are packed with tannin. On its own, tannin doesn't make for an enjoyable experience, but in a well-balanced wine, it creates structure, complexity, and gives that wine a real backbone, while also prolonging the aging potential of that wine. So tannin in wine is an essential component.
Speaking of essential components, the most effective way to remember all these facts I'm talking about is to study with Brainscape, which leverages that most essential of components to all human learning: spaced repetition. Okay, let's get back to some more wine terms.
What is terroir? Well, terroir is the French name for the combination of soil, climate, and geography that imparts unique characteristics to the grapes and the resulting wine those grapes make. The way the soil drains and its capacity to hold heat, the topography of the land and its exposure to the sun, and the location of the vineyard relative to the equator and nearby oceans and rivers. These are all aspects that contribute to the winemaking concept of terroir, which is usually expressed in the quality, complexity, and flavor aroma profile of the resultant wine, giving it a sense of place. In fact, you can taste the difference between, for example, a Chardonnay made from grapes grown in a warm climate like California versus those of a cool climate Chardonnay like Chablis, France, while Syrah made in Rhone tastes completely different from Shiraz made in Australia, Syrah and Shiraz being the same grape varietal. What is meant by the texture of a wine? Texture is how the wine feels on the palate, making it quite a subjective experience that is also often described as the wine's mouthfeel. What does the term aeration mean? Well, aeration is exposing wine to air to allow it to open up and develop its flavors and aromas. So wine can be aerated by pouring it into a decanter and leaving it to breathe for an hour before pouring. There are also aeration devices of all prices that introduce air into the wine as you pour it. So young or inexpensive wine should definitely be aerated before drinking, as this will bring out their fruity flavors and soften their tannins, which can sometimes be harsh. But be careful of leaving old mature wines to breathe for too long, as they may be perfect for consumption soon after opening. What is meant by the term oxidation? When wine is exposed to the oxygen in air, it begins to oxidize, which creates different flavors and aromas that can actually complement the wine. So think cooked or dried fruits, nuttiness, yeastiness, and even umami. If left for too long, however, oxidation can rob a wine of its freshness, fruit, and color, ultimately causing it to spoil.
That's the end of your 10 flashcard study round.
You can find hundreds more questions like these in Brainscape's collection of wine appreciation flashcards, or in our comprehensive flashcard collections for the WSET and Court of Master Sommelier exams. And of course, keep listening to the rest of this hands-free playlist to massively level up your wine knowledge.